Look, I'm trying to tell you that I approved that call to Ramsey.
You are a real friend, Robert.
You don't know how true that statement is. If you'd actually gone out and killed Gray, you'd be in a whole lot more trouble than you are now.
I would have accomplished something, but what is this thing about calling the cops? You've never called the cops in your life. Every time we work together, you don't call the cops. Have you forgotten we usually work alone, Robert?
Look, her intentions were good.
Oh, drop it! There are a lot of streets paved with good intentions. We have never messed up as badly as we have messed up since this stupid broad got into the picture.
Listen, will you stop trying to use her as a scapegoat? Find somebody else.
Don't patronize me.
Oh, listen, I wouldn't...
I don't need an scapegoat.
Come in, Jimmy. It's just a little, misunderstanding here. My fault. Forget it.
I may have some good news for you. What is it? What's happening? Pierce has decided to hold the bail hearing and the arraignment in the conference room off of his chambers rather than an open court. I mean, the public won't be kept out, but there's not going to be a mob scene to deal with. That's a break? Sure. You're still thought of as a hero around here, man. We need all the help we can get. Let's not knock it, all right?
Oh, come on, Joe. It's a big deal. I broke a door, so what?
No. You did a little bit more than that. What the charges are going to sound like are something like breaking and entering, battery, assault with intent. Those are felonies, Spencer. They can put you away. That's why I'm a little bit worried about the bail.
But listen, won't the judge release him on his own recognizance?
Well, that's what we're going to go for, but I don't think the judge is going to go for it. I think he's going to want $50,000.
$50,000? Where the hell am I going to get that kind of money?
Not one asset, man. Your boat. You mean hawk the boat? That's what I mean. How do you feel about that, Robert?
Why not? It's your boat.
Oh, no. You got as much invested in it as I have.
The way I see it, mate, we're in this together. You and me. And whether you want to believe it or not, Jackie Templeton, too.
Come in.
Luke and Joe are on their way to the judge's conference room.
Oh, thanks. I better get over there myself. Oh, Laura.
Yes,
When you see Dr. Katz this afternoon, don't hold anything back. I think you need all the help you can get.
What? He's going to drop all of the police-related charges. Resisting arrest, assault, all of them.
Oh, well, then it's over, right?
No, not quite. I mean, he can drop the police-related charges, but we still have to deal with Mr. Gray.
Oyez! This court is now in session. All those having business with this court, draw near. The Honorable Byron Pierce presiding. God save the United States and this honorable court.
Please be seated.
Yeah.
Walking one of those things you can't figure out.
What do you think that was all about?
You tell me. You're a very lucky boy, Luke. David Gray refused to press charges against you, and then when the district attorney said that we would proceed with the case against you ourselves, he said he would refuse to testify, and we would have no case. He was right. So Richardson had no choice but to drop everything.
Isn't that terrific? I knew they couldn't keep my Luke in jail.
You know, this whole thing smells like a plate of day-old mackerel.
Oh, Luke.
Hey, nothing stinks about being free, man. Just take it and run.
That's right. Right now, the only important thing is that you are free.
And maybe David Gray isn't as bad as you think he is.
Oh, Captain, come on. It's very obvious why he doesn't want to continue this. It would be a trial. He would have to go on the stand, under oath, and there are a lot of questions that the man doesn't want to answer, Captain.
But what? That's what we don't know.
I have an idea about that.
What?
Laura's boyfriend, Mal. Now that he's available, I suggest we go to him for a few answers.
Hey. No more of that rough stuff like yesterday, or I'll throw the three of you in jail.
I hear insinuating that I would resort to improper methods.
Scorpio.
Captain, if you're afraid that we're going to rough him up or something, why don't you bring him into your office and question him gently, officially?
On what grounds?
On the obvious grounds. My sister was classified as a missing person, and he is the only one that has information about her.
We're not suggesting you arrest him, just question him.
Well, I guess I could do that, but only if he would come in for questioning of his own volition.
Well, why wouldn't he if he has nothing to hide?
Exactly right. And when you do question him, we all want to be there. Well, no, you're going to have to count me out on that. I've got to go to Superior Court this afternoon.
Well, listen, if he comes in voluntarily, I can fill you in.
Good.
Look, as long as you're okay, darling, I should get back to the hospital and work.
Thanks, babe.
I can take you back if you just wait.
Right in. All right, the gentleman is outside, known as Mr. Wilson. I will ask all the questions. Remember that. You will be quiet, because if any of you get out of control, all three of you, right out.
Hey, Bert, your instructions are always crystal clear. We understand perfectly.
I hope so. Come in. Mr. Wilson?
Yes, sir. Mel Wilson.
Captain Ramsey here. I thank you for coming down so promptly.
Well, I'm always ready to serve the police, Captain.
Good. I'd like you to meet Jackie Templeton, Laura's sister.
Well, this is indeed a pleasure. You know, Laura has talked about you so often, I feel like we already know each other.
I feel the same.
And this is Robert Scorpio and Luke Spencer.
The pleasure's all yours.
Mr. Scorpio, Mr. Spencer, I'm delighted to meet you.
Would you please sit down, Mr. Wilson?
Thank you.
Now, I have some questions here I'd like to ask you, but first, let me say this is not an official inquiry. You came here of your own free will, and you have a right to leave anytime you want.
Well, not if I can be helpful.
Well, good. I appreciate that attitude. Now, though I do have these questions under the circumstances, you have the right to answer them or not answer them as you see fit.
Captain, I came here today because I wanted to answer your question of photographs on the Malkuth exhibit. As you may know, the exhibit is traveling from city to city, and Port Charles will be the last stop.
But that exhibit hasn't even arrived in town yet.
Well, that's true. Mr. Scorpio, wasn't it?
As I recall.
Well, you see, sir, in a photographic project of this size, I usually like to get here a little early to do my research.
I see. Would you mind explaining your relationship with a man called David Gray?
No, sir, I wouldn't mind at all. Mr. Gray was an acquaintance of mine back in New York. And he's also a leading authority on antiquities. When I learned that he had opened up an antique shop here in Port Charles, well, naturally, I looked him up.
Can I ask you a question?
I thought I asked
Captain,
you,
please. By all means, Miss Templeton, what would you like to know?
Thank you. You and my sister obviously have been very close, and I just want to know what happened between you two.
Yes, we were very close. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but, well, forgive me, but this is a little bit embarrassing.
Oh, try.
Well, the simple fact is that, Laura and I had what you would call a lover's quarrel.
About what in particular?
Well, looking back, it was apparent that she didn't approve of my friends.
Including David Gray?
Oh, especially David Gray, Mr. Spencer. I'm sorry to say this to you, Miss Templeton, but your sister was almost paranoid about the man. Finally, she just moved out on me.
And that annoyed you, I assume.
Oh, I was extremely angry. So angry, in fact, that I packed up her clothes and left them with one of Mr. Gray's employees, Hester Frumpkin. She manages the antique shop for him.
Yes, I know.
While we're on about the antique store, how do you explain your disappearing act out of the back room?
Disappearing behind the back room? I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Scorpio, but you see, Hester's bedroom is back there, and there's no door out.
Well, you certainly didn't use the front one.
But we had to, sir. As I just explained to you, it's the only way in or out.
Let's move on to something else. What is it that you're working on in the loft you rented?
Well, as I just explained to you, I am a photographer, and I use the loft to work on some of my equipment. I must confess that I'm a bit of a tinkerer, and, well, I like to work on my lenses, shutters, electronic add-ons, things of that nature.
What about New York? You left New York the same time my wife did. Is that a coincidence?
It was just that, Mr. Spencer. A sheer coincidence. I mean, right after we finished the Miss Star Eyes campaign, I left to come up here and prepare for the Malkuth assignment. Simple as that.
And what about the day I saw you by the jewelry store? You were running away, and I saw you deliberately pull my sister. Can you explain that?
Well, you, of all people, Miss Templeton, should know how to explain that. I mean, you're aware, I'm sure, that Laura is given to shoplifting? Well, of course you are.
Go on.
Well, I mean, that day at the jewelry store, there was so much confusion. Naturally, I assumed that Laura had taken something, and I just wanted to get her away from there as quickly as possible. Anything else?
No, I don't think so, Mr. Wilson. I want you to know that you've been very cooperative and forthright, and I certainly appreciate it.
I'm always happy to oblige the police department, Captain.
Good. Thanks again for coming down here.
My pleasure. And it was very nice meeting you all.